I don't think we can really work on ease of doing business as a government without working on our people issues. The head of the civil service is a member of the council because it is through the MDAs, through the ministries, departments and agencies that these reforms are implemented. So the council, I've mentioned a couple of times, it's a temporary, we're not a new agency. We're like a project office that are helping alongside MDAs to scope the problems, to really quantify them, because when you look at, you were asking if you get discouraged, sometimes the problems are so huge, you need to take it in bite sizes. So for instance, this 60-day plan that we're wrapping up, it's what we scoped in January. We had done something from October to December, and then you sort of roll in because you don't leave what you've started already. So you roll it into another bigger plan. You take it in steps, you give deadlines, you give responsibilities. And so we are facilitators.
One major problem that we see is the continuity of government. Mm-hmm. And sometimes government come and then they change along political lines, for instance. Mm. If you have that kind of scenario where a state government is pursuing an agenda to develop or to increase the commercial capacity of its cities, and another government comes in and jettisons all of that project, do you have an intervention that can come in and say, no, you cannot do that, you have to continue with a project that has already started with the previous administration, and now is the time to see through it?
So the only way that you can do something like that is to legislate it into law. Then it's binding on everybody. If it's an administrative directive from a federal or state government, now I'm switching to my legal mode, then it can be another administrative directive of a successive government can override that. So each government is entitled to have their own policies. You hope for continuity, and I hope that the Nigerian public has noted that in a lot of ways this administration took that step very early on to continue with a lot of the policies, not to jettison the baby with the bathwater, to look at policies that were sound and to improve on them. So that was one systemic decision that the administration took. But for us, the plan, although I'm speaking on ease of doing business, the plan is up to 2020, which is past the lifespan of the administration, just exactly to give that buffer for whatever administration to go through and then beyond. A lot of countries plan really, long-term planning is the way to go, and it shouldn't depend on the whims and caprices of the particular administration. But coming back to ease of doing business, we intend, it's a 10-year plan basically, to be a top 50 country within the next 10 years. But right now, this year, top 20, or move 20 places to get us into at least the 140s, which is the sub-Saharan average. And then we intend to be top 100 by 2019. And why top 100? In 2006, 2007, we were 94th. So we've been there before. So if we pay attention and we do the work, then we'll be with our peers, and then we can start competing. Right now, we're not.
Okay. We'll be back and take a look at maybe a couple of more questions, and we'll wrap it up. To join us again. Welcome back. Well, this plan that it's ongoing, is this also supposed to be the same in states in terms of the civil service? Because I know that there's always this mindset that private sector employees have, or private sector operatives have, when they have to deal with the public sector. They feel, look, the two lines, they just don't meet. So the procedures in the public service and the civil service is lots of bureaucratic bottlenecks. They don't get things moving as fast as those in the private sector would want it. Is this going to be addressed?
Yes. The long and short, or the short answer is yes. Now the how is a process. So you have a secretariat like ours coming up with helping MDAs with scoping the problems, because the secretariat actually is manned by people from both public and private sector. So we sit with the MDAs to look at their processes with a fresh eye, with a fresh set of eyes. What can we do differently? You know, we problem solve, and we think of it as, okay, if I'm the business, do I really want 9 steps? So for instance, getting connected to the grid, we worked with the discos, with NERC, and reduced the time, the number of steps from 9 to 5. So that you need only 5 steps now, as opposed to 9, and the regulation has been approved, and it's online. Also, we've talked about starting a business, entry and exit of goods, trading across borders, the documentation, very important steps. First of all, the import and export guidelines. New guidelines were issued by the Minister of Finance. And then the documentation needed for importing was reduced from 14 to 8, and for exporting from 10 to 7. So that's really a huge step. We wanted to at least match our peers, our competing ports in Ghana and Benin.
Let's talk about the awareness. How welcoming, how engaging has your work been, and its acceptability from SMEs, for instance?
Yeah, I think it coupled with the Vice President has also been holding SME clinics around the country. We've been doing a lot of engagement with SMEs. We've been to Kano, we've been to Lagos from last year. Specific engagement with stakeholders in particular sectors as well. In fact, we have one tomorrow, a breakfast being hosted by NESG, just to explain what we're doing, why, and importantly, to get the feedback from the SMEs, from the users of the reforms, to feel the pain points, what's most important to them, and what can we do, how quickly. So it's important that people are aware of the project and why the project, to make Nigeria a progressively easier place in which to do business. And of course, to move our rankings, which are quite poor right now, but it's a scorecard that Nigerians cite all the time and international investors also cite. So I think those are the two aims of the project.
Okay, when everybody talk about the police, what needs to be done, I understand what needs to go on that one, so that will pass.
Yeah.
Dr. Jumoke Oduwole is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Trade and Investment. Thank you for coming on this morning.
You're welcome.
And that's the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
Thanks for watching. I am Jumba Umar.
Thank you. I'm Maupe Ogun.